Well, guys, if you can hear me, please put your hands up. If you can hear me, please put your hands up. Thank you very much. Okay. We'll wait for 1 minute. We'll start in 1 minute, inshallah. Okay, in the first session, we talked about how to describe a pie chart, and this is an example. You should spend about 20 minutes. Again, this task takes 20 minutes. The charts below, this is the question. This line is very important because this is the question. This is the part you need to paraphrase. You have to, the first sentence of your answer should be paraphrasing this sentence. You should write it, but using different words. Okay? Then, so let's read the question. The charts below give information about world spending and population. We need to analyze this question. The charts below. Of course, these, what type of charts are they? They are pie charts, as you can see. But when we paraphrase this part, we need to write or say which type of chart it is, or they are. The charts below, when we answer, when we write the answer, you don't use the word below because you answer on the answer sheet and you don't have these charts in front of you. So the word below must be deleted. You don't need to write it. So the charts below give information about. Instead of this expression, we can use describe, we can use show, we can use demonstrate, provide information about, provide data about, depict, D-E-P-I-C-T. It's a good word. It's an advanced word. And you can get a higher mark for it. Okay, demonstrate, illustrate, and so on. When you paraphrase the question, you should be careful. Do we have just one chart or more? Here we have two. So the verb doesn't have an S. But if it's one chart, you need to say the chart gives or illustrates or demonstrates or provides or shows and so on. Some people forget this and make some grammatical mistakes, which makes them lose some mark. Again, the charts below, this is the question. Give information about. About what? Just one thing or two things? No, two things. World spending, which is the title of chart 1, and population. World spending and world population. So don't focus on one thing and forget the other. You need to cover both charts. You need to cover all the question, the whole question, or you will lose marks. There is one of the 4 things you are graded according to is called TA or task achievement. You are asked about 2 points, 2 things. If you cover one only, then you'll get a bad mark in task achievement. Right. What are you supposed to do here? Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features. Again, you don't need to mention or to comment on every single number. You focus on the main features because what you're doing here is summarizing. You're writing a summary. You're writing a short report, focusing on the data in front of you, the information in front of you. And remember, you never give your personal opinion, okay? Because you are just reporting the facts in front of you. and make comparisons where relevant. This is the question. So let's look closely at the two charts. The title of the first one is World Spending. And it's divided into 5 portions, 5 sections, 5 parts, and so on. Yeah, we can use the word section. The first one is 24%. Again, we said we must focus on the numbers and what each number refers to or stands for. 24% of the world spending goes for food. So the world spends about 24% is roughly or slightly below 1/4, right? Then if you look at the smallest thing, it's clothing. But the world spend, or people spend 6% of their income on clothing. Then we have housing here, 12%, transport, 18%, and the vastest or the largest portion or section goes for other things. So we have 4 main things here: food, clothing, housing, and transport. If we look, we understand what each number refers to and what each number means. And the largest one here, excluding the others, because these are many things, of course, is food, and the smallest portion or section is clothing. If you look at the second chart, world population distributed among the world continents. Here we have the largest section is Asia, or represents Asia, with 57%. 57%, about let's say 3/5, about 60%. We can say roughly 3/5 of the world population are found or live in Asia. Then we have both the Americas together, 14, Europe, 14, then comes Africa with 10. 10% can be expressed in another way by using the word 1/10. 10% is 1/10. And other places, 5, like Australia, Antarctica, Greenland, and so on, 5%. So we have, let's say, 4 main places or 4 main parts of the world. Right. Let's go to, here we have an example. This is the task. Look how simple it is. About 10 lines, about 12 lines, but you should follow the layout we talked about in the first session. If you remember the first sentence, I told you to do what? To paraphrase the question. Where is the question? This sentence. What the meaning of paraphrase? Say the same stuff, say the same thing, but in using different words. The charts, again, we can say a chart is a chart, so we can't use another word for chart, but we can say which type of chart it is. The pie charts, we can say the pie charts. And remember the word below, don't write it. Instead of give information about, again, we can say show, demonstrate, illustrate, and so on. World spending, we can say people's expenditure, and population, the number of people, and so on. Let's see how this report paraphrases the question. The pie charts, so he, the person who wrote this report, put the name of the chart, and the word below is deleted. And he says compare, because they are 2 charts. Compare, and here I want to point something. Do we have a specific year here? No. As we said in the first session, if you have years that belong to the past, use the past tense. Years belong to the future, use the future tense. If you don't have a year, this is in general, we don't have a specific year or a specific date. So we use the present tense. So the tense used here is the present, as you can see. The pie charts compare the shares of 4 major items in global expenditure. The 4 major items are food, clothing, housing, and transport. in global expenditure. Global expenditure instead of world spending. Good paraphrasing, global expenditure. Okay, as well as, what about the other part? We have population here, world population, as well as how global population is distributed, as well as, and a good linking word, a good conjunction, how, as well as means and, how it shows us, or it compares how population or global instead of world, use the word global, is distributed. And then he writes the overview. And I told you that in some schools, they prefer writing the overview after the introduction. What is the overview again? The main features in one sentence without using any numbers. The largest thing and the smallest thing. The largest section and the smallest section. But remember, we have two charts. The overall, it's a good word to begin with. To begin this part or the overview, use overall. The largest proportion of money, the largest here, the largest proportion of money in the world is allocated to, is given to food. As you can see, 24%. This is the largest thing, excluding this part because there are many things. While this is a good word to use for comparison here, while, whereas, but, transport, housing, and clothing, the three other ones, transport, housing, and clothing, are other significant items. We don't mention any numbers. Remember, in the overview, we don't mention any number. We have a full stop. But in this sentence, we talked about the first chart. Moreover, another good word to use here, this gives you a good mark in cohesion and coherence. Moreover, the population of Asia, which is the largest here, is responsible for the largest group of humans. The population of Asia, this is the overview. In brief, we focus on the main things. We focus on the main features. In paragraphs 3 and 4 here, we can make these two paragraphs one. And we can write overall here and complete here after sentence 1 here. So we can make these two one paragraph, and this is paragraph 2, and this is paragraph 3. But here, the person who wrote the report makes them 4 paragraphs. So we're done with 1 and 2. Paragraph 3, we will focus on some details, but the main features, not every single detail. You are not, again, you are supposed to be writing a summary. You don't need to write every single detail. According to the first chart, a very expression to use at the beginning of this paragraph. So the examiner will focus on this. The most significant amounts, are paid for food. And we need numbers here. Almost a quarter of global expenditure, between brackets. It's a good technique to use brackets in IELTS academic writing. Okay? We can delete the brackets and say with. The most significant amounts are paid for food with almost a quarter of global expenditure, and delete these brackets. And support, so it's food and support almost 20%. Instead of almost 20%, we could have said roughly 1/5. Okay, like 24%, almost a quarter, 20%, roughly 1/5, or merely 1/5, or just 1/5, and so on. While housing, for comparison also, a very important word to use, while housing also accounts for accounts for a considerable proportion, a considerable part, because housing is represented by 12%. The least among the four is spent on clothing. The least among the four is spent on clothing. Merely, only, just, but merely is a more advanced word. It's better, guys, to use more advanced words. 6%. And again, he uses the brackets for the third time. And the remaining 40% here, the remaining 40% is spent on a variety of other items. This is the second or the third paragraph, and it focused on the first pie chart. And the last paragraph, of course, will focus on the world population here in the same way. The second chart shows that there is a significant difference. There is a significant difference between the population of Asia and that of other continents. Since here means because approximately 3 out of every 5, 3 out of 5, this means about 60%. And you know that in Asia lives about 57 of the world population. So since approximately, roughly, about slightly below 3 out of every 5 human beings live in Asia. Europe and the Americas share similar proportions and together are host to, or are home to, roughly 1/3 of the world's population. If we put them together, 14 and 14 equals 28. 1/3 is 33. I think this is not using 1/3 instead of 33 when it's 28 only is not very good, in my opinion. So Europe and Americas share similar proportions and together are host to roughly 1/3 of the world's population. While, again, he uses while, whereas these things are like the glue which puts things or sticks things together. They are very important and examiners look for such words. While the inhabitants of Africa form a mere 1/10, a mere 1/10, only 1/10, because if we go up, Africa represents 10%, and 10% is 1/10. It's a good word to use. Again, paraphrasing is very important. Right. This is a model report, and this is the mark, as you know, is out of 9. What do the markers look for? As I told you before, the marker reads your task 4 times. The first time, he or she looks for something called task achievement. Task achievement. Have you achieved the task or not? He here asks you to write about the world spending. Here, the question, world spending and population, world population. If you write, for example, about the population of Asia and why Asia has the most population, this is not your task here. This is not your task here. Or why people, he wants you to compare the numbers in front of you, the facts in front of you. If you mention, for example, or focus on why people spend the most on food, this is not your task here. This is not your task. This is not task achievement. You will lose marks in this. And the marker gives you a mark out of 9 for this part only, task achievement. For example, in the speaking is the same thing. You are asked, for example, to talk about mobile phones. Okay, in your answer, you talk about technology in general. No, you have a specific topic to talk about. Talk about mobile phones when you're asked to talk about mobile phones. Don't talk about technology in general. Okay, this is called task achievement, and it's in IELTS writing and IELTS speaking. The second time, examiner reads your question, it's for the cohesion and coherence. And by cohesion and coherence, we mean the layout of your task. As you can see here, it's very clear that it's 4 paragraphs. And in the first paragraph, this is the paraphrase of the question. In the second paragraph, from first look, I can see, or at first sight, I can see the word overall. So for sure, this is the overview. And then body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2. This is one thing. And another thing, the use of the transitional word, like as well as here, like overall, like according to the first chart, like while, whereas, and so on. The second chart, so we have the first and then the second. All these things give you a good mark in C&C, or cohesion and coherence. The third time the examiner reads your paper, he or she looks for your vocab. What's the meaning of this? Do you use advanced vocab, advanced words, or use casual words or informal language? The more advanced your language is, without any exaggeration, the more advanced, the better mark you will get. For example, you want to write about, for example, English. And you want to say that studying English is very important, or English is very important, or writing is very important. Isn't there a better word, a higher level, than a word that's a higher level than important? Of course, there are some. Important is level maybe A1. You study important in grade 1 or 2. You have some other words like essential. Essential is a higher level. Crucial is still a higher level, maybe C1 or C2. Vital. So instead of important, don't use things like this. Instead of saying stop or prevent, you can have, because again, stop, you learn stop in KG, maybe stop. Prevent, maybe in grade 4 or 5. What about hinder? H-I-N-D-E-R. Hinder means stop, but use it in the correct context. Okay, some people try to use high-level words in the wrong context. Okay, make sure you control the use of this word. So the more advanced your language is, without any exaggeration, as we said, the better mark you will get. The last thing the examiner is, or the marker is looking for, is your grammar. You should write correct grammar, and you should use a variety of sentences, like simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences. If you can write compound complex sentences, you can use different tenses correctly. If you're talking about the past, use the past tense, present tenses, future tenses, and so on. And active and passive, use them correctly. Try to include at least 1 or 2 sentences in which they have active and passive. If you have such variety of grammar, you will get a good grade. Again, guys, writing task 1 is not after your opinion or your ideas. It's just a summary of the facts in front of you, and you should follow this layout. You should follow this example to get a good mark, because most of you, when they do such an exam, get 6 out of 9. 6, no more. Even those who got 8 as an overall band got 6 in writing. Why? Because they didn't follow these tips. Okay, this is the end of our session today. Thank you very much. If you have any question, put your hands up. If you have any question, put your hands up. Okay, thank you.